This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Here we go.
Hi, Bashi.
Hi, Sufi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You notice anything?
You cleaned your sweatshirt?
I'm wearing a nice new one, a sweatshirt of value. You know, I used to think I could just throw anything on to do a podcast, but then you started shaming me, and so I hope I get credit for this beautiful.
You do, although it is very much your skin tone exactly, so it almost looks like you could be just bare chest in it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Didn't think about that, but always nice to know one step forward, two steps back with the old fashion choices.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wearing a sweater of pretty much the exact same color, but I got this like white and red face, whereas you got the nice tan face.
I do. Thank you.
Yeah.
Real quick, I had a flashback this moment because Axel came into our room, as he always does, too early, and got in bed between us. And then he has a Christmas concert, holiday concert on Friday. And he started singing Feliz Navidad.
Yeah.
Do you remember your Feliz Navidad moment at a school assembly?
I don't know that I do.
Oh, this is a great story that I think about all the time, every time I hear the song. They started playing Feliz Navidad at the school assembly. And you, at the time, were a sophomore in high school, and you just got up and started dancing down the aisles to great acclaim to Feliz Navidad, and then I got up and danced with you, and it was one of my favorite moments. We were just the Meyers brothers just dancing it up at a school assembly.
Oh, I love it. It's a great dancing song.
What was your lip sync win?
I had a couple, but I did
YMCA, or was I?
No, I think I might have done that, but I know one year we did Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, but you might have already left.
I think I'd gone. So you won the lip sync competition with Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, and I might have done a YMCA as well. Someone's always doing a YMCA.
I feel like we maybe, based on Wayne's World, did Bohemian Rhapsody one year.
Oh, yeah. That rings a bell.
Sitting in car seats, that sort of move.
Yeah.
Lip sync, I think it's underrated, and obviously now I live in a karaoke home.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can always lip sync along to the karaoke if you'd like.
That's true, but I feel like nobody respects you for that.
Yeah. I feel like I have, not a great voice, but I have a fine voice. But
I think it's very unfair for you to say you don't have a great voice. I think people who listen to this podcast believe that you have a great voice.
Any singers out there would know that I don't.
Sure, but come on, man. Don't sell yourself short.
I feel like I have and maybe I've said this before, a good enough voice for karaoke, but I get very nervous at karaoke because I want it to be a complete performance if I'm going to do something, and I worry about blanking on the lyrics, and I don't like just standing there sort of looking at a screen.
Well, that's the thing my father-in-law does. He only sings the songs he knows all the words of, so he sort of dominates. He kind of stands in front of the laptop, plays out, and shames the rest of us.
Yeah. Hey, congrats. You got a Golden Globe nomination for your stand-up special. Yeah?
Yeah. It was really a delightful thing. And I don't want people to think I'm not into awards based on what I'm saying. I will say that every year, like the day of Emmy Awards, I am deeply tuned in to exactly when it'll happen. And
like when the nominations come out.
Yes, when the nominations come out. So I am not somebody who's like, I don't even think about these things.
Right.
I really did not have it on my radar that my special would be in the running for a Golden Globe, and was so happy, and what a fun thing.
Yeah. Christmas came early for you.
Christmas came early for me, and the other great thing, one of the fellow nominees is a deeply important person to you and I.
Who's that?
Have you seen the other nominees?
Well, I mean, I know.
Oh, you have Sandman, Adam Sandler,
Oh, yeah,
hometown, our
Yeah.
hometown bro.
I was thinking because someone, one of our buddies, put together an odds on betting on who would win, and they added a friend of ours who's not a comedian at all.
No.
But the odds were very long for him to win.
But also very long for me to win.
They were. And Jake was mad that his odds were longer than yours. And he doesn't even have a stand-up special, or do stand-up for that matter.
Adam Sandler from Manchester, New Hampshire, or adjacent town to Bedford, New Hampshire, and always been nothing but lovely to us. And one of those things you really hope will be true, which is he cares. He seems to care that we're from the same place as him. And it meant so much to me to be nominated with him. Like that is a peak fellow nominee for me. And I thought, should I text him? And even now, I'm like, I don't know if I should text Sandman.
Yeah.
And then he texted me. And he was like,
that's so
the
great.
New Hampshire bros, look at us. And,
That's nice.
Yeah, the best.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And I'll be coming out to L.A. And maybe we'll get lucky and we'll get to watch, a Steelers game that weekend over at your apartment.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not busy.
Busy, like, what would... All right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm
in that case,
skiing.
Yeah, you could be skiing, I will say. It's January 5th, so that could be...
now I should be here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. And also, I should say, I'm very excited to go to the Globes because another nominee in the category, Nikki Glazer, is hosting. And she is a fantastic comedian who I think is perfectly wired for that night.
Yeah. Yeah. We, our guest today on the show, Leanne Morgan, in the intro, I tell her about how I'm listening to her stand-up special that morning, the morning we recorded it. And it was so nice because I've sort of tuned out the news for a little bit. I'm taking a little hiatus. And then just recently, I just finished Fortune Feimsters, who we just had on, I guess, last week's episode, and also so delightful and such a nicer way to spend your time than sort of the doom scroll of 24-hour news networks that I had been spending so much time with for so long.
I'm going to throw one more out. Fellow Manchester, albeit briefly, Ronnie Chang, his special's great. And in fact, the New York Times, I read, just named it a special of the year. So that's on Netflix and is a great one to check out as well. There's a lot of good, I think, Tom Papa as well, Posh.
No.
Tom Papa has a great special. And let me just say about the Tom Papa special, as you're home for the holidays, it's a really nice one to watch with your whole family. And this show's called Family Trips, and so we don't want to point you towards stuff that's going to throw everything off the rails.
I've been working on like a list of things to watch when mom and dad and Mackenzie's mom Linda are out here for Christmas, and I'm sort of keeping it under wraps, but I'm hoping that I do well with suggestions that I have. But it's because it's a tough thing to sort of thread that needle and get something that everyone's going to like. But if you get a good one, it's great. We
had Taron Egerton on last night. And he's got a movie on Netflix called Carry On about a TSA agent. Mm-hmm. And it feels like it might have like a nice Die Hard feel to it. And I thought, because, that's for me the trick when I'm with my in-laws as well. You want to find a movie that kind of holds people's attention. Sometimes you get caught up in the award films this time of year.
Yeah.
And,
I just watched, for the first time ever, Catch Me If You Can.
Perfect example.
It's so good. And it is a Christmas movie. It takes place over Christmas. And I don't know how I'd gone so long without seeing it. And Mackenzie was out seeing Wicked with some friends. And I was at home with the dogs on the couch with the fire going. And I was like, let me do this. And it was perfect.
Did you tip me to Just Watch the app?
Oh, yeah.
Not an ad, everybody. No. Do you still use it?
Yeah.
I use it all the time. Just Watch is a really good ad. And what you do is you enter a movie, it tells you which streamers it's on, where you can get it. Very helpful. Also, you can then make a list. And I sometimes make a list of these are all the movies I want to watch. And I will say my list is way too aspirational.
So is mine.
Where it's all of a sudden, the family's gone and I got 3 hours.
Yeah.
Let's go to my list. And it's just, you start looking at it and they're all really important movies. And at some point you're just like, or I watch Michael Clayton for the 8th time.
Yeah.
And that's often where it lands.
Yeah. I want some more. I want to be able to create smaller, more targeted lists on Old Just Watch. So if anyone over there is listening, that's what I'd like.
But looking forward to the holidays, buddy.
Yeah, so am I. We're geared up. We got our tree up. We're decorated. It's all holidays all the time over here right now.
Real quick, few reminders. If our listeners can handle more than one, head over to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. You can see what my sweater looks like today, and you can go back in time and see how bad they used to look. We have some really fun upcoming episodes before the new year. And if you want to leave us a voicemail with a trip story or you have any questions for either of us, drop us a line at speakpipe.com/familytripspod. I should do more cross promotion of my podcast, but we're doing the Lonely Island podcast.
Yeah.
And also produced by our friends here at Rabbit Grin. And we set up a voting poll for people to go and vote as to whether or not they thought each digital short deserved to be elevated to Criterion Collection status. And it's been very fun. I think we have 3,000 votes, which is going to be an episode as we go through and see what made the cut or not. So Thank you anytime. When listeners engage, it obviously makes this a nicer experience for us. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
And Leanne Morgan, man, oh man. I will say this. We're not spending the holidays with her, but I certainly would like to.
Yeah, whoever's spending the holidays with her is going to be having some great holidays.
They're going to have some great holidays. So do enjoy that. And I don't know. I don't even know if we have a theme song, but if there was one, play it now.
Family trips with the Meyers brothers. Family trips with the Meyers brothers. Here we go.
Hi there.
Josh, you don't. You've got those teeth just like he does.
I do. We had a friend once who knew Seth and I, and then our parents came to town and was like, "You guys are like a family of lions." So yeah, I guess we do have those teeth.
Y'all are beautiful.
Well, thank you.
And I feel so tickled to be on here. Thank y'all for having me.
Oh my God, we're delighted.
Thrilled.
I got to say, Leanne, I woke up this morning. I typically wake up and I throw one earbud in and I just listen to news podcasts and I just sort of catch up on what's going on. But this morning, we're a week out from the election. It's a little stressful. I was like, let me step back from that. So I threw on your I'm Every Woman special and I've been smiling ear to ear as I've been going through my morning routine. And there's so many things where I know you are. There are visuals that accompany this audio stuff, and I can't wait to watch it as well. But it has been this is a better way to wake up than I usually wake up.
Oh, you angel. Thank you for telling me that.
Well,
and I was we had you last month, first time on our show, and not only was it a wonderful time, but I hope you don't know this about you because it's after you leave the room. You leave a good mood in your wake. I feel like after you exit the premises, there's a Leanne aura that just sort of permeates the room for the next hour or two.
Oh, you don't. Thank you. And Seth, let me tell you that everybody has made over that interview more than anything I've ever done.
Oh,
and they said,
wonderful.
And they said, is he that precious? And I said, he is. And he stared at me in the eyes and talked to me and really meant it. And it made it so much easier for me. I was torn up, but it was just like being with your best friend. It really was. And let me tell you this, my 80-year-old mom and 84-year-old daddy were so tickled with that interview, and they go, we love him, and we've never watched him. It's because they go to bed after Wheel of Fortune.
I get it.
But they were like, oh my gosh, we love him. But everybody has made over that, so thank you for having me. I loved it. I loved every minute.
One of the things we got to talk about, and you, of course, have a very similar Southern buoyancy to you as our good friend Jack McBrayer, who you did a movie with. And
Yes, and I love him.
He
And
just
guess what?
officiated my wedding.
He did.
He was the best.
Okay, when was that? Because I called him and asked him if he wanted to come to my pilot shoot that almost killed me. And he said, I'm in New York, Leanne. When was that?
It was October 13th. It was over. Yeah. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations,
Thank
my
you.
darling.
Thank you. Yeah. And Jack McBrayer is going to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. And we've gotten our marriage license back from the state of New York. And we are official thanks to sweet Jack McBrayer.
I know. And he is very efficient.
Yes.
And he said to me, he goes, write thank you notes. Keep writing them, Leanne, to people in Hollywood. They're not used to it. So I said, because we're Southern people that love a good thank you note. And he said, write Ted Sarandis one. Because I got to go to a hoop-de-doo Hollywood luncheon. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote a thank you note, but I can't write anymore because, none of us write. And so it looks like it's hen scratching.
I know.
But anyway, and let me tell you all this about little Jack McBrayer. During the movie, because I didn't know what I was doing, I had no idea, and I felt like I was going to get the shingles. I was so torn up. Jack McBrayer would be behind the camera going, like, more energy, Leanne. Like, he coached me through the whole thing and kept me from losing it.
Oh, man.
I know.
That's very exciting. That is You Are Cordially Invited. That's in January with Will Ferrell, and that's very exciting for everybody. You're also promoting a book. It was the book that we were lucky enough to talk about on our show, What in the World? A Southern Woman's Guide to Laughing at Life's Unexpected Curveballs and Beautiful Blessings. It is, like you, very funny. It talks about your life, which began in Tennessee on a farm.
Yes, my darling. I was raised farming people on both sides, generations back. And I was born in Bowling Green, Kentucky, but we didn't stay long. That was my little daddy was cutting meat at a grocery store and was 23 years old. And then we moved back to our home place in Adams, Tennessee, where all our people were. And they farmed, and then my dad had a business. So he had a meat. We were meat people. We were the people that cut up everybody's meat and all this grass fed. Now the hip people are. Well, we were doing that when I was in sixth grade.
You were feeding them grass. Back before it was hip.
Right. But yeah, farming people.
Oh yeah.
In a town of 500, right outside of Nashville.
And you've got one sister?
I've got one sister, Beth, who is 3.5 years older than me and very prissy and proper.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And did everything right. And from the time she was in first grade, cried over her spelling test. And very anal retentive and type A and bossy. And has been more like my mother, really. And I, came into this world, like, I don't care about my spelling test. Let's have a good time. And I made out with boys, and I did terrible things in the 80s. You'll hear about it on my Netflix special and in the book. I did terrible, terrible things. And she, kept her little legs crossed at her ankles and was a Chi Omega and did everything right, and I was. What did
she think about her sort of wild child younger sister? Did she disapprove?
Yes, and somebody caught me smoking a cigarette at Westtown Mall when I was at the University of Tennessee. Called her, she called me, said, "You better stop that right now." My mama was more like, was a precious mama and disciplined me, but was more like my friend compared to my sister. I was scared of my sister.
That's so
because
funny.
She was going to rip me a new butthole. And it was the 80s, and I thought, I was Madonna. And, but she's bossed me. She still bosses me. She bosses me now and tells me what to do and get off your phone, and all that.
If I could just say how often Leanne says it's the 80s and then mimes smoking a cigarette. I feel like a lot of people, when they say the 80s, are thinking something else. So I just want, for those missing this visual, Leanne's like, it's the 80s. Everybody was having cigarettes behind the mall.
Oh, everybody was smoking. And I was smoking behind dumpsters and dating
Yeah.
people you wouldn't wipe your feet on and all
Did either
that.
of your parents smoke?
My little mama did, but she quit a long time ago. But y'all got to understand, my people grew dark fire tobacco that made Skull in Copenhagen. Also, everybody smoked back then.
Yeah.
But we were also tobacco farmers. And so my granddaddies dipped and chewed tobacco. I mean, I'm real farming people. And my high school boyfriend, who I followed to the University of Tennessee, was the Skull representative on campus.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big deal. Yeah. And he had a little skull pop thing. This is so gross, and y'all are so smart and cute. And I'm telling y'all this. But anyway, had a dip. You could put a little dip thing, and I said, let me just try it to see what you're doing. And I vomited. So I never did that again. I was never going to be a woman that dipped. I shouldn't have said that in front of y'all. Y'all are both so beautiful.
No, that's okay. I was in Ohio once and was driving in my buddy's truck, and we were driving through farm country, and he had a can of dip because it just like felt like the right thing to do. And he's like a guy who will dip on vacation. And I was like, give me one of those dips. And I took some tobacco and I put it in my lip, and we got to the house we were staying, and I could not walk from the truck to the front door. And I was so rocked by it. Like, I've never been a cigarette smoker, and all of a sudden there's tobacco that's like little bits of fiberglass or whatever that's cut its way into my bloodstream. And then they got me on an easy chair in the basement, and I just like couldn't move. I was like, I'm going to sleep here. There's a bed for me, but I'm going to stay right where I am because I felt
there's
awful.
nothing like it. Nothing dope is not as strong as a dip of skull. But but let me tell y'all that we all quit. Nobody, it was a monkey on my back. I quit before I ever had my babies. And if I don't ever want to do that again, I think about the people I could have dated if I smelled good. But, it's no telling who I could have. Now, my husband that I had married was very successful and very smart, and he was in MBA school, and he did not want me to smoke. And he fussed at me and, ripped me. And when he was trying to date me, trying to get me, he bought cigarettes for me. But then when he got me, he, tormented me until I quit. And thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. Because it's a monkey. Nobody needs to be doing that nasty mess.
I remember when New York had their smoking ban, I was I never smoked, but I said, I love the smell of cigarettes. I hate that they're doing. And then within a week, I was like, oh, this is so much better. This is so much better to not have cigarettes inside. Yeah.
Oh, and I know you've been in comedy clubs where everybody was just smoking back in the day, and you couldn't see and smell bad and got a sick headache. I know. Now I can't even smell perfume.
Yeah, trying to tell jokes with a smoke cloud is not good times.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors.
This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. It's time to fuel your inner adventure in the award-winning Nissan Rogue, Rock Creek.
Hey, Seth.
Yeah.
Tell me about your inner adventure. Are you a rocky trails guy or more of a snow roads bird?
I'm a snow roads bird. Like to go up my snow roads, maybe pull over at one point, pop off a couple snow angels back in the car, keep on rocking.
Yeah, I was going to say your snow angels are some of the nicest snow angels I've ever seen.
They look as though an angel fell from heaven and just splatted into the snow.
Yeah, one thing I will say, a note on snow angels.
Yeah.
You don't have to do them face down.
What? This is going to be a game changer. What about you, Posh? Rocky trails or snow roads, bird?
Well, I mean, I'm a bit of both. I do love when you're in a vehicle that can handle some rocky terrain. I like driving slow and feeling a big old tire sort of creep over a rock and sort of waggle you back and forth. And that's the kind of feeling that you can get with some confidence in the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek.
And I would say a lack of confidence in the car we drove in high school, which was a Renault Look car. And if it was even a little bit rainy, you wouldn't go outside.
Whatever kind of adventurer you are, the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek is ready for you. Thanks to its intelligent around view monitor with off-road mode, the Rogue Rock Creek helps brave adventurers like you and also Seth to navigate around narrow obstacles in tough terrain. So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Intelligent round view monitor cannot eliminate blind spots and may not detect every object. Drivers should always turn and check surroundings before driving. See owner's manual for safety information. Support for Family Trips comes from Airbnb. Hey, Poshy.
Yes, Sufi.
I went to your wedding, and it was at a beautiful inn. Mm-hmm. And the people who stayed at the inn had a great time.
Sure.
No complaints. But I've got 3 kids. We stayed 4 minutes away at an Airbnb, an A-frame. I want to stress this because ever since we left, my kids want to live in an A-frame. I just think they were blown away by the fact that a house could be shaped like a letter. And it was so great for us because our kids all have different bedtimes. And Addie, first to go down, and we just took her back, put her to bed, came back to the wedding. And then Axel fell asleep right before the dancing started, took him back, put him to bed, went back to the wedding. And then Ash made it onto the dance floor until about 9 o'clock at night, took him back, put him to bed. And we got to have the full experience. And our kids had the most wonderful time. And it was so great not to think or worry about how loud it was going to be in their room, or would they wander back down to the wedding because something woke them up. And just perfect.
Yeah. And then Axel wants to go back to that Airbnb.
Axel did say for his birthday he wants to go back to that Airbnb in the Catskills and have everybody who was at your wedding come to his birthday.
Great.
Yeah. And we keep saying sure, and I feel like he's going to remember and be super mad when it doesn't happen.
Well, if that happens, you should have him stay at an Airbnb 4 minutes away, and then he won't be able to come back and tell you how mad he is.
That's a good point. Yeah. Book your next awesome trip today at Airbnb.com.
Here we go.
So was it a beautiful place where you were in Tennessee that you grew up?
Yes, beautiful farm country, hills, not hills like I'm in East Tennessee, but rolling hills and cows and horses and all of that, and combines going down the road, and everybody had to drive slow behind, and everybody waved, but very, very small, like one caution light. My family had the little grocery store. There was a gas station, Corky on that, and you could charge your gas. Mm-hmm. And, he'd just say, yeah, just write it on a piece of paper what you got if he was asleep, that kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, like really, really small town, rural, but darling though, sweet.
Yeah. And did you ever take trips outside of town? Were there school vacations or summer trips you guys used to take?
Yeah. Now, because my family had businesses and farmed, and they couldn't go away for a long time. I mean, a lot of times we'd take weekend trips, but we would go to Florida every once in a while, down on the Gulf, honey. And then, but the Kentucky lakes are near me, and we would go for the weekend and that kind of thing because they just were so busy. But do y'all want to know the one? Oh, right. Are we getting to that now? Or
yeah, we're getting to that now. We're getting to that now.
But we would go just for the weekend because it was somewhere where there was a pool, or and we didn't have a boat or anything. We weren't lake people, but we would go down to these resorts and stay for the weekend or whatever, and take our grandparents and all that. Okay, my little mom and daddy took me and my sister to Memphis. Nashville's probably, where I was raised to Memphis is, 3 or 4 hours. And we drove, I was 3, my sister was 6, and they took us to the Memphis Zoo and to Graceland. Mm-hmm. And I remember, and I don't know if it's because everybody talked it all my life, or but I feel like I remember what happened. Oh, let me tell y'all that we also go to Gatlinburg. Everybody in Tennessee goes to Gatlinburg. Well, and a lot of people from around so many states touch Tennessee, but people go to Gatlinburg where Dolly Parton, Dollywood, Silver Dollar City, that was what it was called before she made it Dollywood. Little children would always go to Gatlinburg and up in there and see Black Bear and do all that. And I have been told that when I was 18 months old, I ate a cigarette butt.
That's what you got the taste for it.
Maybe. And I said, was anybody watching me? Like they bring it up every Christmas and Thanksgiving, like, Leanne, remember she ate that cigarette butt? She was 18 months old. I'm like, is that all y'all remember about me? 1. 2, why wasn't somebody watching me? I was a toddler.
It is funny. Because really that's not a story about you. That's a story about the people who are in charge of you.
Mm-hmm. and they weren't doing a good job.
No.
Okay, so they go take me and my sister to Memphis, and we've got pictures from it. And it must have been hotter than Hades in the summer because we're all sitting on a bench at the Memphis Zoo with our mouth open and look, dehydrated. But we went to the Memphis Zoo, and I am 59 years old, so this would have been in 68, 69. The zoos, I'm sure back then, were not that great. And they had little animals, in a chain link fence kind of thing. And they didn't have the right habitat. Well,
Like zebras in a parking lot.
but they had, I don't know what kind of monkeys they were, chimpanzees or gorillas or baboons or something. But we were looking at the monkeys, and my little mama had on a Bridget Bardot hairpiece, always, put a little height in her hair, little pale lipstick, did sit-ups in the living room, laid out in the sun. And my little daddy, thin and worked like a mule, worried about, making a living. And you can all see that in this picture. We're all, and mama's got this, But anyway, then we go into the monkeys, and they start like digging in their butt. And we're all like, and I've heard this story too, but I feel like I can remember the horror and everybody yelling and it being like, I was a baby, but I was like, oh my God. Okay, so they dug in their butt and then started throwing their doo-doo at us through these. Because it wasn't a big glass thing. Like Knoxville has a beautiful zoo, and you cannot get to the chimpanzee. I mean, they would kill you and rip your throat out, rip your digits off.
Yeah, they do. They go right for the digits.
They go right for the digits.
They do.
Have y'all watched that Chimp Crazy on HBO?
No, but anytime there's a chimp attack story in the news, I read every single article I can find about it.
I feel like I click away as fast as I can. I can't.
I'm telling you,
even.
boys. Okay, listen to me. Y'all got to watch Chimp Crazy. Y'all will die. It's a woman named Tanya with shorts on. She's kind of got a cute figure. She's very bizarre. She's got this thing for chimps. And they try to rip her digits off. But anyway, y'all, I'm telling y'all,
Well, she had it coming.
She really did have it. She was feeding them a bunch of McDonald's and apple juice. Okay, but you will be fascinated. But anyway.
Okay.
So the doo-doo, they're throwing the doo-doo, and I remember my mama going, "Run, Jim!" and Daddy picking up Beth, Mama picking up me, and we're all running. I remember that panic. And I don't know what happened after that. But then they took us over to Graceland, and little Vernon, Elvis's daddy, came out, and y'all seen all your life those big music notes in the gate. The gate was closed. Little Vernon walks out, comes through the gate, and I remember it. I remember the crowd, it really wasn't that many people, like 20 people maybe, that were looking, trying to see something. And he came out and said, "I'm sorry, folks, you can't come in today. Priscilla and Elvis are here, and they're riding horses." So my mama put me on top of her shoulders, because we're fascinated by Hollywood and entertainment. Because she always said to me, "You're going to be a movie star." And from the time I was 9, and it was in that book saying that I felt in my heart, I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to be a movie star. And then my mama would say to me, "You've got blonde hair on your arms, like Marilyn Monroe. You're going to photograph well." And I really thought, oh, well, yeah, I can make it. I've got blonde hair on my arms.
It's a slam dunk.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I need. I don't really need talent. So, what in the world was I saying? Oh,
you were saying Vernon put on your
Vernon
shoulders.
walks out and says and so my mama puts me on top of her shoulders, and I remember seeing that coal black hair, Elvis's pompadour, or Priscilla. She had a pompadour too. I saw their little heads bobbing on horses, which has always been our family's claim to fame. that I saw their heads bobbing in those fields of Graceland. And then Mama says, but she lies. Mama lies, but she said, Leanne, she said this to me recently. Vernon put his hand on your head and said, she's a cute little trick. And my mama said, that's why this has happened to you, Leanne. This is why.
Oh,
like
you
I've
got
been
blessed.
anointed by Vernon Presley.
Anointed by Vernon Presley.
And I go, okay, Mama.
Leanne, is there a chance that Vernon made up the story about horseback riding because he didn't want to let your family in because you were covered in monkey doo-doo?
Doo-doo. Maybe, Seth, you smart thing. I've never put that together.
Can I say something? I didn't realize people went to Graceland while Elvis was still alive.
I don't know if they were, yeah, you're right. And I don't know if they let people in or they just let, they
Did
were
you
so
just went
sweet.
and looked at it? Yeah.
If you just went and looked at it. But then I've been back since then. When my family, when I got grown and had my own kids, my husband got a promotion and we went down to live in San Antonio. And we drove a minivan with a dachshund and 3 little children, 3, 5, and 7, and to get our car down there. And he said, we went through Memphis, and I said, please let me stop at Graceland. Because I've always been fascinated. I can't help it, y'all. People from Tennessee, we feel like Elvis is our own, and if somebody talks about him, we want to fight. Yeah. I know that sounds crazy to you boys. Where were y'all raised?
We were raised in New Hampshire, so like an hour north of Boston.
Okay,
New
so
Englanders, yeah.
Y'all don't have that fascination with Elvis like we do.
It would be a lot. You'd have to say a lot about Elvis for me to want to get in a fight about it.
Yeah. I will say this. I share a birthday with Elvis.
That's right.
And I've been to Graceland. So, but he's yours. I'm not going to say I got more going for Elvis, but I'm not anti.
Okay.
Yeah. We had
good.
I had Riley Keough, Lisa's daughter, on my show recently, and she told a fascinating story, which is they used to stay, and like that would be where they would stay, Graceland, while there were active tours. And so if you didn't get out of the house by the time the tour started, you would be stuck upstairs, which I was fascinated. That was when she was a kid.
Oh my God!
Isn't that fascinating? It just. As a tourist site, I feel like there's a lot of weird things going on with Graceland.
It is.
I expected it to be bigger. Like the property's big, but the house itself is not like I just sort of always imagined this like huge thing, but it's like it's a nice house. But it's modestly sized from what
really is.
My imagination was.
It is. And they kept a lot of that carpet.
Yeah, and on the walls.
When I went through there with my little children, somebody said something like, "We even found his toenail in this shag carpet," and I was like, I'm an Elvis fan, but I don't need to know that.
That's like a CSI episode. That's not a tour. Now, do you feel like your children care about Elvis at all? I know just as a generation, they're they don't. Okay.
No,
yeah.
I mean, they're not anti.
Right.
But no, they're not fascinated like me and my grandparents, my grandmamas and aunts. When he died, like people took to the bed, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Did you see the movie a few years ago?
I did see the movie, and I thought, oh, they're putting his head in that bucket of ice and shooting him up with dope so he can go on stage. And sometimes I feel like that when I'm touring. I think they're like, I'm like, I've lost my voice. It's okay, Leanne, you can do it. And some little man comes in that has put shots in Rod Stewart in Jacksonville, Florida, and they go, Dr. So-and-so's coming over here, and you'll be fine, Leanne. We're getting you a tea from Starbucks, and he's gonna put something in you. I'm like, and I've also thought when I've been on tour and working like a mule, and then now shooting this pilot and this TV series, I think, no wonder Loretta Lynn got hooked on pills.
Yeah.
Entertainment's hard,
That Jacksonville doctor sounds like a doctor that goes by his first name. Like he's like Dr. Gary.
He doesn't want you to know his last name.
Yeah. I think you've toured in a way I've never toured. I think you've really done like grinded out tours. You also just shot a sitcom. Did you feel like sitcom work, because it's a longer day, but but it's more downtime. Which do you think
Yes.
was harder?
I think they're both hard. And I've only done that one pilot, and I'm going back. I leave, to do more. I've got 16 episodes, and I think I'm going to enjoy it. I really do. The first, I thought I was going to get the shingles. The pilot, I'm getting the shingles. It's like doing a movie,
Has the shingles been a recurring fear of yours throughout your career?
I have. I hate to tell y'all it's so beautiful. But yes, I've had the shingles twice. 38 years old when Chuck Morgan moved me to San Antonio, and I was just freaked out with 3 little children. I got the shingles, and then I got it again, and then I got that shingles vaccine and thought I was going to die in the Opryland Hotel in Nashville because I think I had a kind of a reaction to it. But I'm okay now, boys. I'm okay.
I will say, a friend of mine just got the shingles vaccine, and they said it really knocked him out.
It's a hard vaccine.
Yeah, with at the same
But
time,
I don't want to scare people because they need
yeah,
to
but I
get
also,
it.
yeah, it seems like shingles is still worse than recovering from the vaccine. So I'm
Right. Oh, it's
think it's
awful.
yeah.
But yeah.
You that I know that's I mean I guess it counts as a family trip. 3, 5, and 7 driving them to San Antonio. How long did that trip take?
Oh my Lord. Well, when you're talking about a little dachshund that need to wee and but Chuck Morgan does not let us drink water so we don't have to stop. Chuck is one of those dads that's like, we're going, and everybody, nobody asking me to stop, we're going. So everybody's to hold their bladder. But it took, I bet 17 hours. I don't even know. We probably stopped in a hotel somewhere, but we did go through Graceland, and my little children got fascinated by the toilet where Elvis died.
Yeah, well,
and
I think for kids.
everybody just stood and looked at the toilet, and I made the mistake of saying, because my middle child who's asked questions all of her life, she's now 28, but she said, "Mommy, what did he die from?" And I was so tired and dehydrated that from being in a minivan with Chuck Morgan that I said he was trying to poop, Maggie, and he had a heart attack and died. And I should have never said that to a little child who's 5 years old. And then they all stared at the toilet that had a rope in front of it and didn't want to see anything else. And I wanted to put on the headphones and see Elvis's little britches and Priscilla's clothes and the little kitchen and where the peanut butter sandwiches were made. And Chuck was saying, let's go. And then he was trying to make a sales call over their grave. And there were these people from Europe who were crying and grieving. And Chuck was going, I got a 16 by 80 on lot so-and-so. And I was like, move away from the gravesite, Chuck. He's very competitive and loves sales.
Our father will very often take a very loud phone call and just like hang out like where other people are having a conversation, where everyone else is present or watching something on television. And my mom has to like aggressively shoo him away.
Oh, well, that's me. I'm your mama. And
It is really strange how no one sort of in charge of Elvis's legacy didn't, on the day he died, be like, let's move him to the bed. You know what I mean? It's so weird that like that's such a part of this story.
I know.
Yeah. Just when the doctors came over, it's like, just say bed, right?
Yeah. Just say bed. There was no PR. But I've met like country music stars because I'll do like at CMAs and that kind of stuff. And I've met all these old country music stars that were like hanging with him after he and Priscilla got a divorce. And let me tell you, they were players.
Yes,
Elvis
of
was
course.
doing nasty stuff in that carpet. Oh, okay. So
The toenail is the least of your problems.
it's the least of our problems. But yeah, me with the children driving, we take vacations all the time with these children growing up. And then my husband's company would send us on cruises, and I just am not a cruise person. And it seems like with little children, everybody gets a stomach bug, and I just would rather be on land.
Were the kids excited about a cruise? When you would go on a cruise, were the kids like, hooray, cruise?
Yeah, they were until we would get there, and then everybody had to be quarantined. And because there's something about little children get a stomach bug all the time, and then really on a cruise, it's just, on like Donkey Kong kind of thing on a cruise. I mean, every time I've ever gone on a cruise, I feel like I put those patches on that my pharmacist will give me, and then I'm seeing double. I mean, the whole thing is stressful. I don't care for it.
Yeah. I mean, there is There is the inherent danger on a cruise of you're on the water, so you can't go overboard. But because it's self-contained, do they sort of scatter and go off and do things without you? Or do you need to keep eyes on your kids at all times on a cruise?
When they were little bitty, you have to. And then, but when we went to Greece on a cruise, that was nice. And my children were grown, and they went with us, and I didn't have to. No,
Yeah.
I don't even know what they were doing, but it was sweet. Whatever it wasn't anything. They were just at the pool or whatever. We went on, to Ephesus, and we went on all these nifty tourist, spots and all that, and they love all that.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors. This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. It's time to fuel your inner adventure in the award-winning Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. So, Josh, tell me about a recent time you connected with your inner adventurer.
Well, anytime it rains in LA, which isn't very often, I throw my gear on and I get out in it. And my dog Woody loves to get out there with me. And we'll start on a trail, on sort of a big fire road trail, but then we find those smaller trails where you need to crawl and get your hands dirty. And the wetter you get, the better you get. And yeah, that's what we like.
I love it.
What about you? Have you connected with your inner adventurer recently?
You know those squirrel suits where people jump off the sides of cliffs?
Oh, yeah.
I just watched a YouTube video of that. But my tummy, it made my tummy feel weird.
Yeah. Careful. Don't watch too many of those. Whatever kind of adventurer you are, the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek is ready for you. Thanks to its intelligent around view monitor with off-road mode, the Rogue Rock Creek helps brave adventurers like you and also Seth to navigate around narrow obstacles in tough terrain. Plus, with lava red stitching and Rock Creek embroidery, you're surrounded in style no matter where you go.
Up on Rogue Rock Creek, she sends me. Right?
Yeah, we don't have the rights.
We probably can't clear that.
Nope.
So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Adventure calls in the first ever Nissan Rogue Rock Creek. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Intelligent around view monitor cannot eliminate blind spots and may not detect every object. Drivers should always turn and check surroundings before driving. See owner's manual for safety information. Support comes from Aura Frames. Poshy?
Yeah.
Last year you sent the Aura frame to mom and dad. You loaded it up with pictures. They love it.
Yeah.
It was a hit gift.
Yeah.
Maybe the best gift you can give besides plane tickets to see the children that you want to have in your frame.
It's a hard gift to follow up this year, I gotta say. Aura crushed it last year.
I will say, though, I realized that I can gift it to someone else. I can go the other direction because Axel, my middle one, wants one of these so badly. And so I've got an Aura frame loaded up for Axel, and it's going to be one of his big Christmas presents to have a picture frame in his room that just cycles through. I think mostly Axel wants photos of himself. I would say that is the one difference.
Well, that's great because if it's his frame, then it's his rules.
Yes.
So yeah, that's a perfect gift.
Axel loves costumes, so we will, have him in each and every one of his costumes. He is delighted to see himself dressed up. And it's a great thing. We're going to load it up. First day of school, the time you went to the Nutcracker, all this stuff is going to be on the frame. And it's really just a fantastic product. The photos look like real prints. Aura frames have meticulously calibrated high-resolution displays. Unless you look really closely or see photos transition, you would never even know it's a screen, Poshy.
Wow. That whole Axel getting an Aura frame is exciting for me because I have a bunch of pictures of Axel and pictures of Axel and myself. And I'm going to send those all to you, or I'll just upload them directly to the frame.
Yeah.
And I'll feel like, I'm going to get him something else as well, but that's a nice little gift that I can get for him.
I think that's better if he was like, what did Uncle Poshy got me? And you're like, I put pictures.
He uploaded some pictures of me.
You get to look at pictures of me. Stop your complaining. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames by using promo code TRIPS at checkout. That's auraframes.com, promo code TRIPS. This deal is exclusive to listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. Support comes from Rocket Money. Hey, Poshy.
Yes, Sufi.
All right, so the new year's right around the corner, and I think a lot of people are going to make some resolutions to get organized. And one of the best ways to get organized is financially, and one of the best tools to do it is Rocket Money. This has been a real breakthrough for me in saying, hey, Seth, there's a lot of stuff you thought was a good idea 15 years ago, and you stopped thinking it was a good idea, but you also didn't think it was a good idea to stop paying for it. And I highly recommend using Rocket Money, which is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It has been fantastic for me.
Yeah, I got to say, I was just going through my credit card statement, and there was a newspaper, a regional newspaper that wrote an article about me earlier in the year. And in order to read that article, I had to sign up for like $1 for 6 months. And I was like, great. And then I realized that I've been paying $12 a month for the last 4 months, and I haven't even been to that website once.
Yeah.
And Rocket Money is a product that would catch that and flag it for me before I catch it. And I'm like, oh, I'm just bleeding money here.
Yeah. And I think, I also got an email from Rocket Money saying, maybe you don't have to read every article about you in a regional newspaper.
Well, there's not a lot of articles written about me, so when there is one,
All right. Yeah, it's
I
true.
like to read it.
You know what?
Yeah.
That makes more than enough sense. It was about, it was like, LA man rude at local diner. Was that it?
Yeah, but I like that because I like to know that people have recognized my rudeness.
Yeah. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscription, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/trips today. That's rocketmoney.com/trips. rocketmoney.com/trips, baby.
Here we go.
When you started being a road comic, how old were the kids and did they come on the road with you?
I really got started in Texas. I was starting before then, but had done a few clubs, but nothing big. I got started in Austin, Texas was my home club at Cap City Comedy Club, and the children were 3, 5, and 7. And I did a few clubs where I would leave them Wednesday through Sunday. Back then, you had to go a long time, but I didn't want to leave them. So I had to, and their daddy was traveling and had a big job and was traveling all the time. And I was the one raising them. So I just had to find a different path. So I did a lot of private corporate things. I did, women's things, fundraisers. I was your fundraising gal, Yeah. I had to take what I could, and then I would do so many clubs a year. But, back then, people really people didn't know me. And when you come up through clubs, you get booked. And if you're not really in the clubs working all the time, they didn't want to book me really. And I had on a kitten heel.
Yeah.
And a bob and a capri with birds on it. And I was talking about, somebody doo-dooed on the T-ball field and people were high on marijuana and drunk, wanting to hear the nasty words about women's doings. And I was, I had a bunch of little children. And so I was not in much demand back then, Seth. I'll just tell you. I was for private corporate stuff and all that.
But that is nice. I feel like you can, I think there's like a negative connotation about doing a charity gig or doing a private corporate gig. But those are people too. And oftentimes, especially if you're a comedian who's not reliant on bad language or blue material, I feel like you probably got a great bounce on how popular you were.
Well, thank you. I did. They were always, there were some that will suck your heart out, like men that make carpet fiber in Dalton, Georgia. They're not fun. But they probably looked and thought, who is this woman in the capri pants talking about her stomach? But yeah, I think it was some of the hardest gigs I've ever had that helps you to learn and how to deal with, somebody's worried about their boss and everybody's about to get fired. No telling what's going on at those corporate things. And I think they're hard. It's just as hard as doing a comedy club, and it gives you a different skill set. So I was very lucky. I look back on it and this could not have been any better. I got to raise my own children. and I got to stay on stage as much as I could, and I would get some Hollywood stuff. It wouldn't make it, but I got to be with them, and I have this treasure trove of material because I really, I'm a mama and a grandmama now.
Yes.
And so why I'm on tour and why this has happened for me is all these people, in the United States that have raised a bunch of kids or has a mama or a brother or a sister can relate to me.
It's true.
And-
I will say one of the best reasons to hang out with your kids when you're a comedian is that it's just a total content farm. Just
It
constant, and it's so wonderful. And it's universal.
Wonderful.
It's universal for your audience, which is so nice.
It is. And marriage and all that. And I also, and my husband, gives me a lot of material. Chuck is peculiar.
Yeah.
And he knows it. And he doesn't care. He goes, I don't care what you talk about because he knows he does all this. But I do want to tell you, during middle school, that was a dry time for me because everybody, my children, and they're all close in age, were like, do not speak my name. Do not talk about my puberty.
Right.
Don't come to the school with those yoga pants on, Mom. And I just had to, stay back. And then in high school, they were like, we don't care what you do. Like, we don't even care who you are. But then, and now they're like, they're grown and I've got babies, grandbabies and all that. But
Chuck Morgan,
yeah.
I guess even, because I always say about my wife, when I talk about her on stage, she didn't know what she was going into, right? She met a comedian. But Chuck Morgan did not meet a comedian. So he kind of had to find out, right?
He did.
Yeah.
Even though I want y'all to know that he stalked me at the University of Tennessee, and I had a horrible past. It's in the book. I had married. Y'all going to see how country I am. I had married at 21, dropped out of UT, got divorced in 2.5 years, went back to school to finish my degree, was beat down, cut all my hair off, and I did not want a man. I was needing to just get my degree, and Chuck Morgan fell in love with me, and we worked at the same restaurant and would not leave me alone, and somebody would have a baby in the restaurant, and he would show me this baby because he knew that my uterus was aching. And
they wouldn't physically have a baby in the restaurant. Someone
That's
who
what I
worked at
thought,
the
too.
Yeah,
restaurant.
they would. And Chuck Morgan would say, if this baby was crying, do you want me to hold your baby while y'all are trying to eat? And got better tips for that. But also, Chuck Morgan is a baby cuddler at Children's Hospital, truly loves babies and cuddles the drug-dependent babies. So he would go get people's babies and then show them to me and was buying my cigarettes then. But anyway, then what was I saying about that? Oh, yes. But he was enthralled with me, Seth, because he was a math person, MBA, by the book, serious. And then I loved art and music and all these things. And he thought I was fascinating. He ended up, marrying me and resenting me for those things later. But at the time, he was so enthralled with me and thought I was so beautiful. He still does. He stares at me now and flares his nostrils at me. And I don't even want to tell y'all what I'm going to have to do tonight before I go back to LA. But anyway, and I'm going to have to not eat and hydrate. But anyway, he was so in love with me. And then, yes, I had my first baby, and that's when I was selling jewelry. We talked about it on the show, Seth.
It's incredible.
And I wanted I always was thinking, I'm going to Hollywood. I don't know how I'm going to have these babies there, number one, but I'm going to Hollywood, which was crazy. And I'm living in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, and that I had my first baby, Charlie, who's now 31. And I wanted to stay home and nurse, and Chuck had his own business at 27 years old and was freaked out, probably about to get the shingles. And I wanted to make a little money to get my hair highlighted and get the baby an outfit. But I look back on it and I think, oh my gosh, I was in these living rooms with these women, and I was funny. I knew I was funny, and I was supposed to do a script from the jewelry company, but I didn't. And I was up there, freewheeling it and talking about breastfeeding and hemorrhoids and all that. And women would, think it was so funny and started booking me a year in advance. And then I would be like in town, in this little town that Chuck was from, where he moved me, people would say, "Can you come and do 30 minutes of a program at the Rotary?" And I would be like, "Yes." I thought, I'm Joan Rivers, you know. And then he moved me to San Antonio for that job, and I had comedy clubs for the first time. And I loved them, and they would move me up, you know, and I would work them, and I was different than everybody, you know, back then. I always stood out just because I was different. I was a mama, you know, and clean, and then there were lower times during this whole 25 years of doing comedy where I could not get arrested. Nobody cared, couldn't get booked. And then Hollywood would say, "We want to do a sitcom based on your comedy." And it'd be Tom Warner that did Carsey Warner. And then I'd keep going, you know, and it'd give me the strength to keep going. And then I was just about to quit when this blew up in my early 50s.
What a thing. Well, how long have you been calling Chuck Morgan and using both his first and last name?
Chuck Morgan since the beginning. And because my mama calls my daddy Jimmy Fletcher. So I think that's just a thing. And then, but I have called him Chuckina. Uh-huh. I've always, and he doesn't look like a Chuckina. He's very, like, people are scared of him, even though he's not scary, but he's just very quiet and introverted and doesn't talk. And he's a big man, 6'4". And, but I always said Chuckina because I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
You know, like a pet name, because he's really not a pet kind of person. But yeah, Chuck Morgan, because, you know, he keeps me straight. And I got to tell y'all, I don't know what I'd do without him with all this happening for me. He's the one that, you know, is like taking care of everything, make sure that I've got everything I need so that I can do what I'm doing. But it's hard. I live in Los Angeles part of the time without him, and it's hard on him, and it's hard on me. But he can come back and forth and do, and but he's still got a big job in running a division of a company, and it's a lot of stress. But he likes to have stress. He likes to be torn up.
Yeah. He likes to be just on the cusp of getting shingles.
Just on the cusp.
Just not quite getting, but always enough to be worried about. Did you guys, did you ever take your 3 kids on a big trip? Did you ever get them on an airplane and, you know, take them overseas?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but just Greece so far. They all want to go now, and I need to take them. I need to take everybody. Now there's babies, and now there's PTO. Nobody's got PTO. All I hear from my kids, I don't have any paid time off. I got to save it for Christmas. And I think, I wish everybody could just quit. But then I want them to have purpose in life, and I don't want them to get hooked on something, you know?
Yeah.
Because people go, why don't they all come to work for you? But they don't want to. They don't have no desire to do all that. But yeah, the trips, and we've also taken, most of it has been with Chuck's company. I can't even tell y'all what they've sent us on. All over Mexico, Alaska several times. My kids have been on Alaskan cruises and hiked and looked for bear and done all that. My boy's an outdoorsman, so he loves all that. And we're big people. We like to go in the mountains in North Carolina. That's very nice in the summer. And then in the winter, we like to go down to 30A in Florida. Because my sister married a hoop-de-doo man, and they built 3 hoop-de-doo houses. He's in real estate, and we got to go for free.
Now, wait, for those of us who don't, what should we be picturing when we hear a hoop-de-doo house?
When I say hoop-de-doo, I mean like country club people that grew up playing golf and tennis. Because
Gotcha.
I'm
So
from Farming.
are they like McMansions?
They are made to look like the Hamptons. Y'all got to look this up. It's called Rosemary Beach.
Okay.
And it is, there's some that are probably 20 million, but they're probably around 3 or 4 million to 20 million. And they are beautiful. And you can walk everywhere in these cobblestone streets, and it's on the beach. The real hoop-de-doo's on the beach, and then this side over, but it's, a lot of people from Nashville.
Don'ts, yeah.
But all that area is the hoop-de-doo of Florida. I mean, there's hoop-de-doo all over Florida, but that's where a lot of people from Tennessee go, Atlanta, Texas. They all go right in there, and little children are in vineyard vines. And, or probably, been spoiled. But they bought this, they built their first one, and then we all started going, and we were like, oh, my Lord. And then he has sold all of them, but we still go down there and rent, and it's nice.
Are you the sort of family that hosts at a Thanksgiving or a Christmas? You mentioned, your people are all sort of from the same area. Are you really connected to your extended family?
I am. And my everybody now comes to my house and for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And we're all cooking and doing, and everybody's, exhausted, but we love it. Good. But everybody comes. But being from the country, I was raised right next to both sets of grandparents. My grandfathers took me to school. They worked in my family's business. So I was around all my cousins and all that. But now my sister, her kids are hoop-de-doo, went to hoop-de-doo school. One's in finance in New York. One's, in MBA school. So we all get together during Thanksgiving. It's more transient now than farming people. Farming people huddle together, after you go to college and all that. Lord, we've got to get out and do our own thing.
Yeah. I imagine when you were younger and you were going to the Gulf Coast, you weren't going to places like Rosemary Beach. So
no, honey, it was a motel in Panama City Beach.
Yeah.
And eating fried fish. And then I remember my little mama did not wear sunscreen, laid out and got so burned up. And then we had to get her ibuprofen, and then we all stayed in the motel room. Yeah.
Were you the kind of family that how would you pass the time? Would you play board games? Would you play cards?
My little mama loved them, and my sister, we could play cards. My dad hates all that. We would, we're big. Mom and I loved movies and television, and we would sit and watch. Like if somebody's burned and can't get outside.
Yeah.
If you can get outside, go and do and see and all that. But yeah, we loved a good television show, a good Saturday Night Live, a good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad would get so mad at her and say, this is filthy, Leanne. Now, I'm talking, Seth, you probably weren't even born, but we're not outdoorsy people.
Your dad's Jimmy Fletcher? Did you say your dad was Jimmy? So Jimmy Fletcher had a life just surrounded by women, right? 2 daughters, his wife.
Surrounded by women, and he cried at the drop of a hat. He was a real he is a real sweet daddy of girls. And when I would be in college and I'd be upset over something, or I did well on a test. Let's say I did well on a test. I would call and tell Daddy, and the phone would be, nobody would be on the phone. Mom would pick it up, and I go, where's Daddy? He's crying in the bathroom. So what did you eat for lunch? So, if something happens for me, he cries his eyes out.
So this must be an incredibly special time for your little mama and your little dada.
It is. And they just say all the time, like, this is so unbelievable, Leanne. And Mama will say, I knew it. But Daddy will say, you touch people's lives, and you're giving people joy. And I mean, he cries. And for this book to get on the New York Times bestseller, we're all like, what? And then every day I call them and tell them something, and they're just amazed by it. And they got to see, I'll tell them when I'm going to be on TV or whatever, and they just go, well, you were the most beautiful one there. And
man.
And you were the prettiest, and you were the smartest and the sweetest. But they, honest to goodness, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. They loved that interview, but everybody has. Other comedians have called me and said, oh my gosh, Leanne, like that was wonderful.
Oh, it was so
And I
fun.
said, well, it was Seth.
Oh,
and they told me, they said, Seth is the sweet one.
Well, I do. It's very nice to hear. Well, look, Vernon Presley doesn't just rub the head of every old girl that comes to the gates. The man had taste. You know what I mean? The man had taste. This has just been a delight talking to you. Like I said, I mean, I'm so happy we got to do it again so quickly, and you got to come back. You have a lot of reasons to come back on my show. You got your movie coming up. You're going to have this show coming up, and so I really hope you become a frequent guest because we love seeing you.
Seth, I would love that, and I just cannot believe that it's over. I've had a ball.
Well, we're not quite over because Josh has some questions for you real quick.
Yeah, I do have some questions.
Okay.
Also, I just want to point out, you're not the only one who Jack McBrayer can be too busy for because he was invited to my house tonight, but he's spoken for. And I even tried to move something from tomorrow night, but he's spoken for that night too. That's a busy man right there.
I bet he's eating with Coldplay or something.
Probably. Something like that.
He's eating with Coldplay.
He's eating with that Coldplay boy. I guarantee you, he's with Melanie Griffith. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's with somebody doing.
Yeah. Somebody whose name you know.
Yep.
And it's bigger than mine. All right, here we go. You can only pick one of these. Is your ideal vacation relaxing, adventurous, or educational?
Relaxing.
Yeah.
Especially now. Now. Before all this happened for me, probably educational because I've got kids that love to go and museums and all that.
Gotcha. What is your favorite means of transportation? Train, plane, automobile, boat, bike?
I like a plane.
Yeah.
In a car with a bunch of kids. Well, now, I mean, with the grandbabies, you got to just get them there. So
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't enjoy. I mean, I can get in a car, but I enjoy going. And then, yeah. Oh.
That's all right.
Not a boat.
By the
not
way,
a boat,
I
'cause
do.
I'm
I'm going to just
nauseated.
admit something. When you talked about driving to San Antonio earlier, I thought you both had a minivan and then a second car that was a Datsun. And it wasn't for a while until I realized that was a tiny dog. So I'm just going to come clean at the end of the podcast.
Okay. Yes, that was one minivan that I had forgotten to change the oil in. And Dachshund, and I remember trying to rest my eyes in between Nashville and Memphis, and Chuck screamed and said, "When's the last time you changed this oil?" And I think that triggered my shingles for San Antonio because I was bad about not getting the. But anyway, okay, one minivan. Okay,
If you could take a vacation with any family, alive or dead, real or fictional, other than your own family, what family would you like to take a family vacation with?
oh my Lord, y'all. I mean, I don't know why this is popping in my head. Y'all are gonna go, oh my Lord, Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell and
Great
some of those
answer,
right?
kids.
Genuinely great answer. We did a podcast with their kids, Kate and Oliver, and like they talked about their trips, and you've made an excellent choice. I'm
Yeah.
just going to tell you,
Thank
made an
you,
excellent
Seth.
choice. Yeah.
I just think they look so cute
They're
and
gorgeous.
fun.
They're
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Someone said like the Manson family. So you're doing great.
Yeah, you're
Leanne.
doing bad. Yeah.
Don't. Excellent choice. If you had to be stranded on a desert island with one member of your family, who would it be?
Oh, murder. Because I'm in love with all these kids. I don't know if I could take Chuck because I would have to do it like all the time. I would.
Chuck-
He's still got so much
Chuck
testosterone.
Morgan knows what he likes. I'll tell you that much. If there's any takeaway from this.
I know. I think it's something to do with salespeople, people that make good sales. I've got higher testosterone. I don't know, but anyway, that's what I would have to do.
You'd have to bring Chuck
Unbiblical
Morgan.
thing. Yeah. Oh my gosh, and these children I'm all in love with. Now I've got 2 grandbabies. I would take one of these babies. Oh my Lord, y'all. That is too hard a question.
Well, we're going to let you off the hook.
Okay.
Because it comes, we
I'm
can
in
tell
love
this
with
is
them.
not from indecisiveness. It's from an overabundance of love.
Of overabundance of love.
Yeah. But there's some pitfalls if you bring Chuck Morgan.
Yeah, I mean,
There is.
I don't think anybody would want to pick Chuck Morgan after this podcast.
But let me say this about Chuck Morgan. If you are deserted on an island and you need food, and he's that kind of man that can like build a fire.
Yeah.
He's not a hunter, but if he had to kill something, he would do it. Like he's
Yeah.
a survivor. He is
Gotcha.
a survivor, but I would have to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think he's a good choice as long as you don't have like blonde hair on your arms. Because obviously he can't keep his hands off that.
He can't.
You are from Adams, Tennessee, correct?
Yes, my darling.
Would you recommend Adams, Tennessee as a vacation destination?
I'll tell you this. I would say to people who are into demons and ghosts, if you're into demons and ghosts, go
Yep.
through Adams, spend a couple of days, because we are known for the Bell Witch, Bell. It's part of Tennessee history. And there's been 2 Hollywood movies made about it.
I feel like I've
And-
seen at least one of them.
Okay,
Yeah.
one was with Donald Sutherland and Sissy Spacek, and it was called An American Haunting. Because there's also the Blair Witch, and that's in Tennessee. That's the one with the snot camping. That's not us.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Bell Witch is part of our Tennessee history. During Halloween, it would always be on the front of USA Today because it's like one of the oldest ghost stories. And so I was basically raised with a demon. And there's a cave where you can go in and terrible things happen and weird things happen all the time. And so if people, that is a place where people come to see that kind of stuff.
All right.
So
Great
yes,
answer.
but that would be the only thing.
Okay.
Okay.
And then Seth has our final questions.
Leanne, have you ever been to the Grand Canyon?
I have not, my darling, and I want to go. And we keep saying that we're going to go.
Okay.
And I'm
Good.
sorry.
That's all right. No, that's well, your honesty is the most appreciated thing. This has just been delightful, you guys. This is Leanne Morgan. She's got a book. It's called What in the World. She has 2 fantastic specials you can watch. One is Leanne Morgan, I'm Every Woman on Netflix, and also So Yummy is on YouTube. And most importantly, even though she has no affiliation with it, do check out Chimp Crazy on HBO.
And hold on to your digits.
Hold on to your
to
digits.
I know, but y'all wait till y'all see her in those short shorts. Okay. I cannot believe this has to end. I wish I could live with y'all.
No.
Would we not have a ball? I mean,
We
I know
would
y'all
have-
got both your families, but would we not
would
have a ball?
This is just the best. Thank you, Leanne.
If I wasn't like booming, I would wash y'all's clothes and cook and help y'all tend up the kids.
You're booming. Too bad.
Booming, Leanne.
I
booming.
know, darn it, I'm booming, and I hope they don't have to put my head down in a bucket of ice and shoot me up with some adrenaline because the show's got to go on in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But y'all
All
have
right.
been yummy and darling, and I'm in love with both of y'all, and y'all are precious.
We love you too. Thanks, Leanne.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Family trip.